Monday. Well, I'm working at home today. I did a Zoom class and I had a question from a client when we toured a property on Sunday that got me thinking about taxes on properties. And that's certainly something we need to keep an eye on. My client toured a home where the taxes were a whopping $22,000, which really put that out of his comfort level. And it just got me thinking about how do we manage the tax bill? We're kind of limited in certain ways, but what can we do to reduce our taxable liability on our property taxes? So we have, I would say, the first main exemption. I'm going to do two videos on this because there's a couple more that don't apply to everybody, but probably the one that applies to most people is your homestead exemption. This allows you to deduct $6,000 from the value of the property, and that is available to you if you are an owner occupant. So if you have a rental property, this would not apply. You are going to be taxed on the full liability of the property, the full taxable assessment. But if you are an owner occupant, you can go into your township assessor's office, whether I live in Lisle Township, but there's Wheatland Township, Naperville Township, wherever you would live, you would go in there with a copy of the deed and probably your driver's license to prove who you are. And you would just apply for it. There's some simple paperwork. I think you can download it off the site. I don't know. You'd probably want to go in there if they want the deed, and they're pretty easy to deal with. So if you take that in there, it has to be applied for in the year that you're requesting it. And then sometimes, depending on when you apply for it, they might prorate it. Like if you are only in the property, say 4 months of the year, they're going to prorate that. But then the following year, you would get the full $6,000. And you'd be surprised. I mean, I had a client, it was probably 5 years ago. They lived in this house 17 years and had never applied for the homestead exemption. If you don't go in there and ask them for it, they're not going to chase you down to give it to you. They're more than happy to tax the property at the full rate. It's going to save you probably $400 or $500 a year, so it is definitely worth doing. But it is an action you have to take. They won't give it to you. You have to tell them you want it. The other exemption that I would say this was one that a lot of people forget to apply for is a senior exemption. So this applies to anybody that is 65 in the year that they apply for the exemption. You have to be owner occupant, and you are required to go in with a copy, obviously, of your driver's license to prove your age and a copy of the deed. This adds another $5,000 off the assessed valuation of the home. So you might be talking again another $300 or $400 between these two exemptions, the homestead and the senior exemption. You could be saving $1,000 a year off your property depending on what it's assessed at. So it's something that you have to take action on, and I will say it is not uncommon to see people when I pull up tax records for potential clients that and I know they're above 65, they are not taking advantage of this. So this is money on the table. If you don't take it, they won't give it to you. There is a third exemption that applies for people depending, it's income based, and that's called a senior freeze. And they do change it periodically to probably line up with the consumer price index. This year, if you make less than $65,000, you again have to go in with probably your Social Security documentation, 1099s, maybe your tax return. If you make less than $65,000 in a year, and you have to sign an affidavit, they will freeze your taxes. So this is sort of a cumulative effect. They don't reduce it, but they freeze the property value. And you have to prove it every year because sometimes your income changes. You might have a year where your income goes above that. You would not qualify. But over time, it's shocking how low taxes can be on some of these properties. I had a seller maybe about 3 or 4 years ago that was paying $250 because she'd had a long time freeze on the property, and they froze it, and it was like a value of 1990, and here we are, 2015 or something. It was crazy. But if you apply for it, it really over time will save you a lot of money because while everybody's assessment goes up every year, yours is staying frozen in that year that it was initially applied for. So keep that in mind. And also keep in mind that if you don't take action to take advantage of these programs, the county is more than happy to assess your property at the full value, but it's definitely worth making the effort. If you have any questions on these programs, please feel free to reach out to me. I can help guide you through the process, and hopefully it'll result in some savings for you. My number is 630-816-8701. Again, my name is Jill Lasek. I'm with Beard and Warner, and I'd love to do what I can to save you some money. Have a great day and stay warm, everybody. Bye.